As part of the WM5G Health and Care Digital Learning Networks programme, the City of Wolverhampton Local Authority hosted a co-production session at the University of Wolverhampton on the 28th of September. As part of the session, Suzanne and Julie from the Wolverhampton team invited along colleagues from Telford and Wrekin to share their experiences of co-production. Helen and Sarah from Telford and Wrekin came along and brought along with them their expert by experienced Eleanor with her assistance dog Woody. Helen had recognised early on that it was really important to bring along people to a group to test out equipment and apps to see what was and wasn't accessible. As part of her team, she now has 5 volunteers. 2 are visually impaired, 1 is hearing impaired, there is a wheelchair user and also a volunteer with memory challenges. Initially, the group shared some space at the Citizens Advice Bureau on Wednesdays for 3 members of staff and the volunteer group, but challenges about the location not being on a public transport route caused some problems, so they decided to look for a more permanent home which was more accessible. An independent living centre has now been established in a building in Telford near to the dessert shop and Witherspoons, which is owned by the CVS, so they have a whole floor dedicated for the independent living centre. The independent living centre itself has an open door policy, but people can book appointments if they'd like to. Visitors to the Independent Living Centre are welcomed by the volunteers and they're listened to as an entire person. They're empathised with and support is offered. They often enter with fear as they have never needed or want to admit that they need help or support. The volunteers based there are completely impartial and unbiased, so they focus on the pros and cons of any items that people are reviewing. The volunteers help people navigate paperwork and processes, as well as reviewing products that they might find useful in their daily requirements. Eleanor explained that the volunteers are actually considered to be part of the team. There isn't a split between staff and volunteers. It is one team. They have monthly training together and they sit alongside each other as a group. Eleanor described that for some visitors, it was more about adjusting to the setting and that they might be nervous. So actually having 3 assistant dogs in the centre provided a calming atmosphere. The volunteers love working alongside the council colleagues like Helen and Sarah, ensuring that services are as accessible as possible and also supporting with decisions to be made. For instance, Eleanor described that for people with disabilities, Zoom actually is very often much better than Teams. The group asked Eleanor what had made her want to volunteer and how what she did encouraged more volunteers. Eleanor said that she'd already been in the habit of volunteering and wanting to make things better for people with disabilities. So people who volunteered were often individuals who were not happy with the services they were experiencing or had experienced. Eleanor was asked how the technology assessment works as part of the social worker process. Eleanor replied that actually they would like to think that in early conversations between an individual and social workers that they highlighted the work of the Independent Living Centre and how beneficial it may be to go and see the team. She also described that actually they were working on other community centres and venues to try and raise the profile too. Helen also mentioned that at a similar time to the setting up of the Independent Living Centre, the Telford and Wrekin Virtual House was launched. The virtual house shows people tech in situ by using a show home. This gives people a flavour of what products and applications might be accessible that they could actually use to support them in their own home. We also watched a video of the volunteers of part of the Independent Living Centre to hear what they had to say. For more information about this session or future sessions, please contact us at www.wm5g.org.uk.